Scottie Scheffler just won the FedEx St. Jude Championship by 8 shots. He shot a 61 that tied the course record. He clinched a $23 million FedEx Cup bonus. But while the golf world was celebrating his dominance, a shocking decision behind the scenes has left everyone demanding answers. The world #1 made a dramatic equipment change just before the playoffs, and the reason raises serious questions about what he was trying to avoid. Just 1 week before the start of the 2026 FedEx Cup playoffs, Scottie Scheffler did something he almost never does. He switched drivers. For the better part of 3 seasons, Scheffler had been using the tailor-made QI10 driver, a club he had won 16 times with around the world, including 3 major titles and an Olympic gold medal. He was famously reluctant to change clubs, forming an emotional connection with his equipment. But at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, he showed up with a completely different driver, the tailor-made QI4D. The QI4D had several custom modifications. It featured a blue face that mimicked his beloved QI10. It also had a glossy crown, replacing the matte look on all other QI4Ds, again mirroring the QI10. He had reduced the loft from 8 degrees to around 7.8 degrees with custom weights. The man who never changed clubs had suddenly made the most dramatic switch of his career, and he had a very specific reason. When Scheffler appeared on the Pat McAfee show, he revealed the truth behind his decision. He wasn't just trying to improve his performance, he was trying to avoid his driver becoming illegal. I felt like my QI10 was getting close to where it was either going to fail the driver testing or become illegal, so I needed to really work on my backup, and I put it in play at home a few times and really liked kind of what I saw. The revelation is staggering. The world #1 was so concerned that his trusted driver was approaching non-conformance limits that he made a last-minute switch to avoid the testing process. Scheffler had been preparing for this moment for weeks. Actually, the week of the Byron, we were really focused on getting a backup for that tournament and this one, he had said earlier. The tailor-made equipment team worked with him to create a suitable replacement, and he had been practicing with it at home. The man who was supposed to be the most dominant player in golf was quietly preparing to avoid a rules violation. Scheffler's concern about driver testing was not unfounded. He had personal experience with the process. At the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, Scheffler's driver was tested and deemed non-conforming. He was forced to use a backup driver head for the tournament and still won by 5 shots. "My driver did fail me this week. We had a feeling that it was going to be coming because I've used that driver for over a year. I was kind of fortunate for it to last that long," Scheffler had said after that victory. The issue was CT creep, a phenomenon where a driver face becomes more flexible over time due to repeated high-speed impacts. The USGA limits CT, characteristic time, to 239 microseconds, with a tolerance extending to 257 microseconds. As players like Scheffler hit thousands of shots, the face material fatigues and can push beyond the legal limit. Scheffler had been using his QI10 for so long that he knew it was approaching the threshold. The man who had already been forced to switch drivers at a major was determined to not let it happen again. Despite being personally affected by the testing process, Scheffler has been one of the most vocal advocates for stricter testing. "I would argue that if we're going to test the drivers, we need to be even more robust in the way we test them," Scheffler said after the 2025 PGA Championship. "If we're going to test only a third of the field, if we're going to do it right, leave it up to us as players, like the rest of the rules in the game of golf." He even suggested that testing should be expanded to every player every week. "You can test guys every week if you want. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't," he said. The current system tests approximately 1/3 of the field at each event, with results kept confidential to protect players who are unaware their clubs have fallen out of conformance. The USGA tests about 30 drivers at each tournament, but Scheffler believes the system is only going halfway. The man who had just been forced to switch drivers was calling for more stringent enforcement of the rules he was trying to avoid.
Scheffler's Chi 40 switch wasn't entirely new. He'd experimented with the club twice before, at the 2025 Hero World Challenge and the 2026 Arnold Palmer Invitational. Both times, he reverted to the Chi 10 the following week. But this time was different. This time, he was planning to change drivers before the Chi 10 became illegal. The results were impressive. At the St. Jude Championship, Scheffler gained 2.251 strokes off the tee compared to a season average of 0.655. His driving distance increased from 311.3 yards to 314.9 yards. He ranked 11th in the field in strokes gained off the tee. "Definitely going to keep it in the bag going forward," Scheffler confirmed. The experiment worked, but the questions about why he made the switch in the first place remained. Scottie Scheffler's shocking equipment decision has raised serious questions about the integrity of the game. The world #1 was so concerned that his driver would fail testing that he switched clubs before the playoffs, a move that could be seen as circumventing the rules. But Scheffler has also been one of the most vocal advocates for stricter testing. He doesn't want to exploit the system. He wants the system to be better. The questions now are impossible to ignore. Did Scheffler intentionally switch to avoid a rules violation? Should players be allowed to switch drivers just before a tournament to avoid testing? And what does the current testing system say about the state of professional golf? One thing is certain, the world #1's decision has sparked a debate that will not go away.